The American Revolution was one of the most important events in world history. It transformed 13 small British colonies in North America into an independent nation, the United States of America. Let's travel back in time to understand how it all began. 1. Background: tension between colonies and Britain. In the 18th century, the 13 colonies, like Massachusetts, Virginia, and New York, were under British rule. The colonists enjoyed some freedom, but Britain tightly controlled trade and taxes. After the costly 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, Britain wanted more money to pay its debts, so it started taxing the colonies without their consent. The Stamp Act of 1765 and the Townshend Act of 1767 required colonists to pay taxes on paper, tea, glass, and many goods. This angered the colonists, who protested with the slogan, "No taxation without representation." They argued that since they had no representatives in the British Parliament, it was unfair for London to tax them. 2. Boston Tea Party and the beginning of rebellion. In 1773, the British government passed the Tea Act, which gave a monopoly on tea trade to the East India Company. In protest, American patriots disguised as Native Americans boarded British ships in Boston Harbor and dumped 342 chests of tea into the sea. This famous event became known as the Boston Tea Party. Britain responded harshly with the Intolerable Acts of 1774, closing Boston Harbor and placing Massachusetts under strict control. This convinced many colonists that peaceful protest would not work. 3. The first shots fired: Lexington and Concord. In April 1775, British soldiers marched to Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts to seize colonial weapons. But the local militias, known as the Minutemen, resisted. The first gunfire erupted, later called the Shot Heard Round the World. It marked the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. 4. The Continental Congress and George Washington. After the first battles, representatives from the 13 colonies gathered in Philadelphia for the Second Continental Congress, 1775. They decided to form an army, and George Washington of Virginia was chosen as commander-in-chief. Although many still hoped for peace, King George III refused to negotiate. The colonies now had no choice but to fight for full independence. 5. Declaration of Independence, 1776. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, written mainly by Thomas Jefferson. It boldly declared that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. From that moment, the colonies were no longer British subjects. They were Americans fighting for freedom. 6. The War for Independence. The war was long and difficult. At first, the British Army was much stronger, better trained and equipped. The Americans, however, had determination and the will to defend their land. The famous battles included Battle of Bunker Hill, 1775, early colonial resistance. Battle of Trenton, 1776, Washington's surprise victory after crossing the icy Delaware River. Battle of Saratoga, 1777, a turning point where American forces defeated the British Army, convincing France to join the war on America's side. With French soldiers, money, and naval power, the Americans grew stronger. Later, Spain and the Netherlands also supported the revolution. 7. The final victory at Yorktown, 1781. The final major battle took place in Yorktown, Virginia in 1781. British General Lord Cornwallis was surrounded by American and French troops and forced to surrender. This victory effectively ended the war. 8. Treaty of Paris, 1783. 2 years later, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed. Britain officially recognized the independence of the United States of America. The new nation stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River. 9. Building a new nation. After independence, America faced the challenge of building a government that protected liberty. The Articles of Confederation were the first attempt, but they were too weak. So in 1787, delegates met again to write the U.S. Constitution, creating a strong federal government with checks and balances. George Washington became the first president in 1789. 10. Legacy of the Revolution. The American Revolution inspired people around the world. It showed that ordinary citizens could fight against tyranny and create a nation based on freedom, equality, and democracy. It influenced later revolutions in France, Latin America, and beyond. Today, the revolution remains a symbol of the human desire for liberty and self-governance, a reminder that courage and unity can change the world.